Holy shit, Trea Turner is a Philadelphia Philly. It happened. It happened yesterday. I'm still excited. I'm not going to let the Sixers falling flat on their face in Houston last night. I'm not going to let the disrespect from the Eagles are still receiving get me down because Trea Turner is a Philadelphia Philly. Trending in the AM starts in 30 seconds.
Holding gets around in front.
And Philadelphia has it.
And a very good morning, everybody. Welcome to Trending in the AM on DSM Media Live, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. You know the drill. Like, share, retweet, follow on all social media platforms. And if you want to get interactive with the show, head over to the DSM Media YouTube page, hit the like button on the video, hit the comments in the YouTube page there, and hit the subscribe button. You can also get interactive on the Facebook page as well. Just make sure you hit follow there. We are ringing the bell for 11 more years here in Philadelphia, and I am damn excited. We needed to make a big splash, the Philadelphia Phillies, this offseason, and Dave Dombrowski, John Middleton did just that by going out and getting the best free agent, in my opinion, that was available. Some may say Aaron Judge. I'm going to put Trea Turner as the best free agent that was available. Goes out, gets the deal done, and early. I mean, you look at it over the years, Bryce Harper was February, Manny Machado was February, Cliff Lee was December. So, there's that range that most of the good ones that have signed have gone later. Last year, Kyle Schwarber, Nick Castellanos, March, it felt like when they signed. But Dave Dombrowski on December 5th goes out and locks up Trea Turner. I don't even think the winter meetings start officially till today. So he didn't even wait for other teams to get involved, where the other teams could have maybe tried to sway Trea Turner to go to them. There was a rumor that there was an offer on the table from the Padres. You get to the winter meetings, Trea Turner's agents and family, and Trea Turner himself maybe, sits down with the Padres, and maybe they make a slight adjustment to that offer, and it doesn't happen. Dave Dombrowski went out and got the job done. We're gonna spend a lot of time today talking about this. So make sure you let me know your thoughts. Are you excited that Trea Turner's a Philly? And are you okay with the 11-year, $300 million deal? And I really want to get into that contract first. 11 years. He is 29 years old. It'll be June when he turns 30. So you're looking at paying Trea Turner till he's 40. You've already got Bryce Harper here. You're going to be paying Bryce Harper till he's about 41 or whatever it may be. But the contract, 11 years, $300 million. It comes out to a $27 million on average salary. I think it's like 27.2, whatever the exact number is. But basically $27 million a year. Full no trade clause. And this contract is eerily similar to the exact same contract that Bryce Harper got. Excuse me. In the fact that the years are super long. The overall dollar number sounds really high, but the average annual salary is lower than market value, probably. I think I saw the rumor that the Padres had offered like 5 or 6 years, like $180 million, like $32 million a year. It was only a 5 or 6 year deal, and $170 million, while an insane amount of money, is nothing compared to $300 million. And I put it out on Twitter yesterday, and I was really thinking it's kind of like John Middleton and now Dave Dombrowski that he was brought here. They have this philosophy, go over the top on the years, give the guy, the player, the long-term security. In return, the player gives them a slightly less over-the-top yearly salary. And that gives the Phillies more flexibility to go out and sign more free agents. The Phillies could have easily paid him $35 million a year, but they would have probably only offered 5 or 6 years. By doing the 11-year contract, is this going to be a new trend in baseball? That managers, GMs kind of look at players and like, they want to get the deal done. They offer the longer salary so that there's that long-term security. Players want to stay in one place for a long time. They want to raise a family. They want to have a home. Is this something that's going to start to creep up more with the big players? We know Aaron Judge. He's the next big name that's going to get a monster contract with a long-term deal attached to it. Is this going to be the new thing? Instead of 5-year deals for players, you're never going to see an 11-year deal for a pitcher. That's probably never going to happen. Jacob deGrom, we didn't talk about it yesterday, signed this past weekend with the Rangers. He got like 5 years, $180 million, whatever it was. I mean, he's 35 also. But you're not going to see those kind of 11-year deals for pitchers. But those 10, 11, 12-year deals for position players, now that the DH is available in both leagues, are you going to see more and more contracts like that handed out in baseball? And is that the way to convince players to come to your city and organization? Show them a commitment to them by giving them that longer term, deal. And I really think there's something to it that John Middleton, not only does he not mind spending the money, but he wants to build long term, not just short term. Giving Bryce Harper 13 years. Manny Machado signed for 10 years. Giving that extra 3 years of security, a little bit more money overall, but that security, so that was his last contract basically he had to sign. Same thing with Trea Turner. Could have taken more money per year. Not only does he get to come play with his best buddy, in Bryce Harper, but he gets to now be committed to a city and an organization for the rest of his young adult life. And when this contract's over, his career basically will be over, and he'll have probably raised a family. I don't know much about his personal life, if he's married, got kids, anything like that. I don't know about that. But he's now set up for the rest of his life. And I really think John Middleton is setting the trend and setting the standard of what new contracts are going to be like for the big-time free agents, the major names. You look at some of the other free agent shortstops that are out there right now. You got the Carlos Correas. You've got, I want to see their ages. That's what I'm looking at. Carlos Correa is 28. Bogart is 30. Dansby Swanson's 29. Swanson's not 11. I think Carlos Correa a year or two ago might have been on this Trea Turner level. He's still pretty close. And at 28 years, do you have to add extra years to get him to commit to your organization? Xander Bogaerts at 30. He's not quite the Trea Turner guy. But you got this year, you've got the obvious contract situation sitting out there with Aaron Judge and what they do there. He's 31. Do the Yankees have to go to 9-10 years to convince Aaron Judge to stay? Or if the Yankees are sitting at 6 years or 7 years, can another team, San Francisco, who I know he's been linked to, I think he's from San Francisco, do they have to go out there and add a 9th year or a 10th year? And will that sway Aaron Judge? Hey, 10 years is better than 8 or 7. I really think John Middleton has set a new trend with this. It's something that I think you're going to see more and more of every single year, as this happens. So the Phillies get their guy in Trea Turner. I see a lot of people talking about the years. Obviously, 11 years is a long time. I don't care about the 11 years right now. I may care about the 11 years 6-7 years from now, when he's a little older, a little slower, when he doesn't have the range at shortstop. What's he do? Now we have a lot of guys that are going to be under contract later in their careers. There's only one DH on a team. That will bother me at some point. But the $27 million a year, I mean, it's a steal of a deal for a perennial all-star, a guy that's finished. I've got his baseball referencing up here. He has finished in the top 10 of MVP twice in his career. This year, he finished 11th in MVP. He's an all-star, twice in his career. He's led the league in games played. He's an Iron Man type guy. Plays almost every day. Led the league in games played in his career. He's led the league in at-bats multiple times, plate appearances multiple times, led the league in hits multiple times, triples, stolen bases multiple times, batting average, total bases. The guy's an on-base hitting machine. So you're getting a guy, and look, I see some people that still say the analytics say bet Kyle Schwarber in the leadoff spot. No, you've just gone out and gotten yourself exactly what you need at the top of your order: a guy that gets on base and a guy that steals bases, a guy that's got speed and smart. I saw one guy bashing it. It was a terrible deal, and they should never have signed him because he strikes out a lot. and I want to address that because I can't remember his name. I think his name's Sean. I'm not positive. The guy hit 300 last year, 343 on base percentage, and yes, he struck out 131 times last year. Hey, 131, 110. We'll skip over 2020 because 36 it was a short season. 113, 132. He does strike out a little bit more than you want from a leadoff hitter. But let's be honest. We had Kyle Schwarber in the leadoff spot striking out about 200 sometimes last year. So I don't want to hear anybody bashing the Trea Turner deal. What's up, my man? How you doing this morning? I hope you're as excited as a newer baseball fan about Trea Turner as us long-term Phillies fans are. So he slots instantly into that leadoff spot and solves, such a huge hole. Like we talked this season, could Bryson Stott maybe be the leadoff hitter of the future? Which this move is great for Bryson Stott also because it slides him over to second base. It'll be a little bit easier for him to play second than it is short. Maybe a little bit more natural for him. And as a young kid, look, I talked about Bryson Stott. Maybe he was the future at leadoff during the games when Kyle Schwarber was down this year. He batted leadoff for a few days and he did okay. Outside the 0 for 6 game, he had a bunch of games where he performed in that position. But no pressure on him now. You can keep Bryson Stott down at the bottom of the order where he belongs at this point in his development. No extra pressure there. You could take Kyle Schwarber, move him down into the cleanup spot or the 5 hole where he's probably better suited to be to drive and runs. You let Trea Turner get on base, Bryce Harper when he returns. And that's something right there. A lot of people are writing their opening day lineups and their projected Phillies lineups. Let's realize Bryce Harper's not going to be back probably till June 1st. Maybe a week or two before that, but let's just slot him in as June 1st. That's still 2 months of a season. That's 55, 60 games. That's a third of the season that Bryce Harper's going to miss. So we've got to really, at this point, think about what the lineup's going to be like at first. And you don't have Bryce Harper's power in the middle of the lineup. You slot Trea Turner at the top, and you put Kyle Schwarber in that cleanup. You can put him in the 3 hole, 4 hole, 5 hole, anywhere you want. You slot him there, and that makes up for the loss of Bryce Harper for the first 2 months of the season. There's no need to talk about putting Kyle Schwarber in the leadoff spot anymore. There just isn't. So Trea Turner solves your shortstop position, solves your leadoff spot position. It solves your loss of Bryce Harper for the first 2 months of the season problem because now you got Kyle Schwarber where he belongs. Kyle Schwarber hit, 46, 47 home runs last year? Didn't even drive in 100 runs. He's going to have the opportunity to now surpass that 100-run mark by being down further in the lineup. And I think that's another very important aspect of all this. Now, Trea Turner won. The question is then what you do with the rest of the lineup. And I honestly think that this Phillies team is not done. Obviously, we'll get into the fact that they will still sign a starting pitcher, maybe 2. They're going to need relief pitchers. They are. But this $27 million, by being able to keep his annual salary so low, I don't have the exact number in front of me, but I saw it, Jack Fritz or Buster Olney or Ken Rosenthal, somebody tweeted it out yesterday, that it still keeps him $35 million below the luxury tax. And we know this team is willing to go over the luxury tax. So by able to get this kind of a deal, yeah, I don't know about that. It's very, very, yeah. You must have a really bad screen. Not. You don't have me in high definition because it looks bad this morning. You still got $35 million to spend, and anything over that you're willing to go. Obviously, we went over it by like $10 or $15 million last year to bring in Nick Castellanos. So there is room for them to go out and get another bat. And I do think the Philadelphia Phillies should look into getting a veteran bat that's out there. And I'm looking at the list of free agents, obviously, with Bryce Harper hurt. But when Bryce Harper comes back, the goal is he'll probably DH at first and then eventually slide back into right field. Do we really want Nick Castellanos in right field every single day again? He was meant to be our DH / platoon left fielder. And I'm looking at these names out there. There's a lot of names that are, mid-level kind of names. We're not going to go out and get a Andrew Benintendi, but maybe an Adam Duvall. Do you go and you look at a Brandon Nimmo? 30 years old. Can you get him on a cheap deal? Oh, Roman Quinn's a free agent. I'm looking at some of these other names. Will Myers. I've heard a lot of people bounce his name around. what you do is by going out and getting one of those veteran guys. We've got our first official lineup prediction, which I was going to get to mine, but we got the first. We got Kyle's lead off, his order. So he's going, and this is great. I love it that you put the lead off that your lineup before Harper comes back, because we don't know. The expectation is June 1st. It could be later. It could be sooner. You just don't know. He had Tommy John surgery, and he'll be able to hit. And if I remember, Ohtani, when he had his Tommy John, he had it in October, and he was back by mid-May. It was November for him, so he might not be back till June 1st or later even. Turner, Hoskins, JT, Schwarber in the cleanoff, Castellanos, Bohm, Stott, Derek Hall, and Brandon Marsh. And this is interesting right here, because I see who you got in the 8-hole, Derek Hall. And he did come up, and he did okay when the Phillies called him up this past season. But I'm not sure if I'm ready to make Derek Hall an everyday DH while Harper's out. He can have a shot at it. He could be on the bench and maybe do it. But Derek Hall's 26 going on 27, or he turned 27 already. I don't know. He's a guy I really just don't understand. He's got a lot of pop, but I don't think he does a lot of everything else. I like your top: Turner, Hoskins, JT, Schwarber in the 4-hole. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do Hall, you're probably going to bump Hall up to the 6-hole and then bump Bowman Stott down. I love Marsh in the 9-hole. Brandon Marsh in the 9-hole. It's almost like another leadoff hitter. I do love that. But this is where going out and maybe getting another left fielder or right fielder just for a short term, a young guy, or not a young guy, a veteran guy on a 1-year deal that could play right field some games. You put Castellanos some games there. Sometimes he plays right field, whoever it is, and Castellanos gets an opportunity to DH. I think there's that. Or you got the Matt Vierling option. And I think that Matt Vierling option, if they do not go out and sign somebody, it's going to be a platoon in that Harper spot of Hall, Vierling. I don't even know who else maybe Nick Maton. I think they are going to try to get a veteran to platoon with Hall in that extra spot, or that extra spot / Castellanos, or they're just going to go with that Hall, Vierling. I actually probably, deep down inside, would probably be in a short term more confident with Vierling in right field and Castellanos DHing. And then once you let Castellanos play once every 3 or 4 days in right field, and then that gives you keeps his legs under him, because he was burned out. I mean, he had a bad season, but he was burned out playing right field every day. We need Castellanos to resort back to old Nick Castellanos before we signed him. Maybe not playing him in right field every single day might be the answer there. So I like what you're doing here, Kyle, and I'm just gonna jump right into it, and I'm gonna give you what I would do differently. I agree with you 100%. I know there's a lot of Rhys Hoskins hate out there, but I am keeping 1-2 Turner Hoskins. Hoskins is while Schwarber drops in my lineup, Hoskins stays at number 2. I think you get enough from him there for that. And I also agree that Rhys Hoskins is going to be a Philly. Now, the JT in the 3-hole thing is what my first, maybe not, I don't know. I have a feeling that Alec Bohm could do it. Not maybe long term, but he could do it. And what you do is you go Bohm at 3, and then JT, then you go Schwarber at 5, because JT actually played pretty well in the cleanup spot this year when he got moved to the cleanup spot. So do you go JT in the cleanup spot, Schwarber 5, Castellanos 6? Do you do that, and then you go Stott, Hall, Marsh at the bottom of the order? It's just something I was thinking about when I was doing it. When Harper comes back, it totally changes everything. But whether you do JT in the 3-hole or the 4-hole, whether you go Schwarber 4 or 5, I think that at rare, that lineup as it is right now without Bryce Harper still is a playoff lineup, or at least a contending for the playoff. Then come June 1st, when you put Bryce Harper in it, you take Hall or Vierling out of the lineup. Can you imagine what this lineup would be like? You put Harper in the 3-hole, then JT in the 4-hole, Schwarber 5, Castellanos 6, Bohm 7, Stott 8, Marsh 9, man, that's not a contending for the playoff lineup. That's a that's a contending for the World Series again. That's getting back to the World Series again type lineup. Now we will have to see some improvement. Can't hit a wall. Stott has to continue to develop. Alec Boehm has to continue to develop. Brandon Marsh has to continue to develop. Because then if not, then the bottom of the order might be a little bit, sketchy. But by adding Trea Turner to this lineup and taking Kyle Schwarber out of the leadoff spot, it just changes so much. And I think it's kind of exciting just to imagine the possibilities. We were already one of the scariest offenses in baseball last year. You add Trea Turner at it. And like I said, you still got $35 million to play with before you get to the luxury tax. And like I said, they're willing to go over it. So say they go whatever it is till the first threshold. I think it's $15 million over. You've got like $50 million to spend. $55 million. And obviously we need pitching help. And I'm looking at it. I know everybody's going to keep talking about Carlos Rodon, who was actually, I believe, I don't know if this is true or not, but I read somewhere on social media that Carlos Rodon and Trea Turner were roommates in college. I don't know if that's true or not. But there's some kind of Rodon and Turner connection. And we know John Middleton keeps his stars happy. When Bryce Harper says, get this guy, he does. Well, he's now made that kind of same commitment to Trea Turner. So if Trea Turner says, yo, go get my boy Rodon, Carlos, come to Philly, maybe it happens. It's going to take a lot. I've seen a lot of big numbers out there from 5 years, 150, 6 years, 180 for Carlos Rodon. I'm not sure. The elite starting pitching market, because of the deals that Jacob deGrom and Justin Verlander, who yesterday signed for like 2 years and $85 million, that was the Mets replacement of deGrom. And honestly, I think getting Justin Verlander to replace deGrom actually makes the Mets a little bit better. I mean, deGrom's got his injury history. deGrom, when healthy, is the best pitcher in baseball. But deGrom is never healthy. Verlander, on the other hand, outside of when he missed time for Tommy John surgery, is healthy. I think I saw on SportsCenter yesterday, he is the second oldest player ever to lead the league in ERA. He was like 38, whatever. Roger Clemens in 2005 was like 40-something. He did it. But Justin Verlander is still an elite pitcher. And you got him for 2 years, basically. He's going to pitch till he's 40. And at this point, he seems like he's still going strong. He actually pitched even better in the playoffs than ever before. So Justin Verlander, I kind of think makes the Mets better. But the contracts, the 2 years, 85, basically $40-some million a year for him. The deal that deGrom got, like $40-some million, set the starting pitching market, level. I mean, I know they're much more elite. Hey, even those guys, Verlander and deGrom, are even way above Carlos Rodon. Like, way above Carlos Rodon. So he's not going to get that kind of money. But if Carlos Rodon thought he was going to get 25, 27 million, after seeing what deGrom and Verlander got, he's got to think in his mind he's getting 30 million at least. So I think we're out on Carlos Rodon. I do not think he becomes a Philadelphia Philly. Also, if you really look at his numbers, he's had 2 really good seasons. He's been in the league for a long time. He's had 2 seasons out of like 7, 8 that were really elite. I don't know if I'm willing to break the bank for 5, 6 years on a pitcher like him that's had 2 good seasons. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But see, the other thing is you have Painter, you have Abel, you got McGreer, you got these young guys in the minors, excuse me, that are almost ready. Hell, they may be ready already. Painter may be ready already. They might not start him. I still love my really weird, bold thing, go with a 6-man rotation and just have, or a 5-man rotation with 2 guys pitching 3 innings at the back end if you want to start Painter early. Because remember, Painter at 20 years old, they're not going to let him throw 200 innings, 180 innings. They're going to control his innings in his first year or 2 up so that he's not burned out. So what I think, and this kind of goes back to, Jason and I talked a few weeks ago at the start of free agency about just going over the top for 1 year on deGrom, like $45, $50 million for 1 year. So what I want the Phillies to do is I'm looking at further down the list. No one to the level of deGrom or Verlander, or even, the Carlos Rodons, is I'm looking at, obviously, Eflin and Kyle Gibson have already signed, which is fine. I didn't want them back anyway. But I'm looking at Jose Quintana, and you guys know I love Jose Quintana, and I love what he does, and he's another lefty in the rotation. And Jamison Talion. Talion? I don't know how you say his last name. I would have to work on that if he became a Philly. I'm looking at those two guys as my first options right now. If I'm Dave Dombrowski, I'm at the winter meetings. I'm sitting down with Quintana's agents and Jose Quintana. I'm sitting down with Talion and his agent. I'm like, what would it take to get you guys here on a 1-year deal? Now, Quintana was on a 1-year deal last year on a bad team. And a lot of teams sign pitchers, like either pitchers looking to rebound or pitchers that have some potential. They sign these little cheap 1-year deals hoping to flip them at the trade deadline. Hell, that's why Baltimore signed Kyle Gibson on a 1-year deal. Hope he pitches really well early in the season. Then you flip him at the deadline for another prospect. That's what bad teams do. Now, I'm not trying to say Baltimore's a bad team. They had a really good season last year, but they're nowhere near ready to contend. So they're looking at Kyle Gibson as an innings eater early and then an asset to trade later. But now Jose Quintana had a pretty solid year and then had a great second half of the year once he got traded to the Cardinals. Now he's probably looking for a 2 or 3 year deal. Can you get Jose Quintana on a 2-year deal? Instead, I'm just making up. I don't know what he's worth. I don't. Say he's worth $15 million a year. Do you offer him 2 years at $20 million a year instead? Does that extra average, and you've saved so much money on Trea Turner and Bryce Harper that you can afford to do that? Hell, if you give somebody like Quintana $20 million a year, which is crazy to think because that's more than Aaron Nola is making. That's almost what Zach Wheeler's making. But every year, market goes up. You got to understand. Hell, $27 million for Trea Turner in 5 years is going to just be a mid-level contract, honestly. With the way contracts keep increasing every year, it's insane. The numbers just keep going up. So guys you're getting now, halfway through their contract, it doesn't look like much. Do you go out and offer $5 more million over the actual value of a player like a Quintana? Talion, he's had injury history in his career. Do you go out and offer him a 1-year? Look at Noah Syndergaard last year. Noah Syndergaard signed a 1-year, $22 million deal with the Angels. They took a chance. Now, while it didn't work out for the Angels, it worked out a little bit for the Phillies. They were able to flip him in a trade package. And he was here to help us through the stretch run. I actually, deep down inside, if we don't get Quintana and Talon, I am okay with them bringing back Noah Syndergaard, only if it's on a 1-year deal. I'm looking at some of these other names that are starting pitchers that are available. You got Evaldi, you got Bassett, you got Kluber. Did Sean Manaea not sign yet? I thought he did. He's listed on MLB.com as a free agent still. Wade Miley, Rich Hill, Zach Greinke. Zach Greinke's a free agent? I didn't know that. He's 38 years old. Don't know what Zach Greinke's got left in the tank. I might have to look into that after the show. What does he have left in the tank? Michael Pineda, Chris Archer. There's a lot of guys that are back-end guys. Dallas Keuchel, he's still in baseball. He's listed as a free agent. I didn't even know he was still pitching. They have to go out and do something and get somebody. But I don't want them to settle for the Kyle Gibson type, a guy that's had one good year and a lot of bad. We're going to take a quick pause in the action here. Today's show is brought to you by Gents Barber Lounge. Check out one of their 2 great locations in Fishtown and Old City and book your appointment today. They own the Craft and It Shows, rated the #1 barbershop in Yelp in the Philadelphia area. Multiple award-winning barbers, able to handle any style cut, adult or kid. Check out some of their great work, and we're going to get right back into this pitching in 15 seconds. And we're back here trending in the AM on DSM Media. Again, like, share, retweet, follow on all the social media platforms, wherever you're watching it, live or on replay. I go back and I check all the views on all the comments on all the replays as well. If you're watching on Twitter, I can't see your comments. If you're commenting on the show, I greatly appreciate it, but I can't see them on the screen here. So if you want to get interactive on Twitter, you got to head over to Facebook or YouTube and watch the show there. That's where I can put your comments and thoughts about Trea Turner is a Philly. 11 years, $300 million. Man, it's crazy. It's crazy that Dombrowski's still going out. He said he didn't mind spending stupid money, and he's continuing to do it. So we're talking pitching now. That this saves us so much money. You can go out and overpay for one of these other free agent pitchers, as long as look. I don't mind them going out and getting a pitcher on a 5-year deal. I really don't, because prospects are just that, prospects. We assume Andrew Painter is going to be the stud, but we don't know how many stud pitchers did we trade away during the '07 to 2011 run? I mean, we trade away so many guys for the Cliff Lees, for the Roy Halladay's, for the Hunter Pences of the world. We traded away so many studs, and how many of them really turned into anything major? Carlos Carrasco, who's a really good pitcher, and he's battled cancer and arm issues. I mean, the guy has turned into a solid pitcher, but he's probably the biggest name prospect we traded away during that. Not the biggest name, the most successful of the prospects that we traded away during that whole run. Most of them didn't even make it to the majors. So prospects are that. So I don't mind them signing somebody like Carlos Rodon to a 5 or 6 year deal. I don't. But what I don't want them to do is block the opportunity to see if these young guys are any good. And Dave Dombrowski has said when he did his post-season ending State of the Phillies press conference, whatever you want to call it, basically it was they wanted to talk about Bryce Harper's surgery, and when they turned it into a whole off-season press conference, he said that last fifth spot is going to be reserved for Bailey Falter, Chris Sanchez, Andrew Painter, McGreary, Abel, one of those guys. And while Bailey Falter has the edge to start the season, long term, that spot's probably, maybe by the end of the year, filled by Andrew Painter. Now, that's why I don't want to, totally block these guys. I could see them starting season with Bailey Falter as their 5 starter to kind of put Andrew Painter and Mick Abel into a long spring training, stretch them out a little bit so that we're not really putting the innings on their arms till May or June. But if you go out and give Carlos Rodon a 5-year deal, and he's your number 4 starter, or 3, and Ranger Suarez is your number 4, whatever it may be, and then Andrew Painter and Mick Abel are both definitely ready already, well, now you got 1 spot left for 2 guys. You're kind of blocking them. And like I said, Carlos Rodon, he hasn't had, it's not like he's Jacob deGrom. It's had 5, 7, 10 years of Cy Young candidate, pitching. Got 2 really good years. So I don't mind it, and I will get excited if they do it. But I much more feel comfortable giving Jose Quintana a 1 or 2 year, overpay deal. A Jameson Taillon, a 1 year, match that Noah Syndergaard Angels deal from last year. Give him 1 year, $20 million. Sure, why not? A short-term Jake Arrieta type deal, just to a better pitcher than Jake Arrieta was in Philly. And I still, looking back on it, Jake Arrieta, the deal was the right deal. It just didn't work out. And if you give $20 million to a starting pitcher, $15, $20 million, whatever it may be, you're still $15, $20 million below the luxury tax, which means you've got $20 million plus anything over the luxury tax to fix the bullpen. And I know people, the bullpen needs work. Obviously, you got Sir Anthony Dominguez, you got Jose Alvarado, you got them at the back end of the bullpen, and that's obvious right there. Connor Brogdon showed me a little bit of something in the playoffs. He might get a bigger role this year, but you still need more in that bullpen, obviously. And I know this is going to be a very unpopular opinion. I'm not going after the Kelly Jansens of the world. Where's the other top guys? The Craig Kimbrells of the world. The big names that are older. I'm not going after them. If I'm Dave Dombrowski, I'm trying to bring David Robinson. Even though he's 38, I'm trying to bring him back on a 1 year deal. And I know this is going to be even more unpopular. I'm trying to convince Corey Knebel to come back too. Corey Knebel was not a bad pitcher for the Phillies. Corey Knebel was a guy that wanted to be a closer because he wanted to make the bigger money. He just couldn't close anymore. You bring him in on a cheaper 1 year deal. He signed like $8 million or $9 million last year. Bring him in a 1 year, $5 million deal to pitch the 6th to 7th inning every single night. You're getting a good deal. I don't know what his arm's going to be like, but you bring in David Robertson to be a backup closer to Dominguez and Alvarado to pitch the 7th, 8th inning. Then, if you have Robertson and he's healthy, Alvarado, and Dominguez, you got 3 guys that can pitch the 7th, 8th, or 9th inning. Any of them could close. Any of them could hit set up. You can use your new modern, using your best pitcher in the highest leverage situation. That philosophy that Rob Thompson employed in the playoffs, you can use that all year long. So I like that, and I think those options would be cheaper and smarter. And hell, maybe they turn McGreary or McAble into a reliever. I don't know, but I think that the cheaper options there, and hell, you do that, you go get a starting pitcher, spend $20 million, you might be able to go get 2 or 3 bullpen arms for under the other 15, 20 million, and you might be able to stay under the luxury tax, which then will give them the freedom if they need to make a trade or do something bold before the deadline or whatever. It'll give them some freedom there. So that is what I would do there. But guys, this talk is all set up because Trea Turner is now the Philadelphia Phillies starting shortstop for the next 11 years. Trea Turner and Bryce Harper are locked into Philly. I mean, I'm going to be 50, and these deals are not going to be done. Yes, I'm an old man. I'll be turning 42 in a few weeks. Well, not even a few weeks, less than 2 weeks. I don't even know what date it is. Is it even a week? I don't even know. Anyway, it's just crazy to think that this is where we're at with the Phillies. You know, we've had a really dark time after the 2008 to 2011 run. You know, you had Ruben Amaro, who I love, and I'm trying. I'm still trying. I tweet him out a lot, trying to get Ruben Amaro to come on this show someday. You know, somebody wants to do me a favor and hit Ruben Amaro up and convince him to come on the show. I would love to have Ruben Amaro. But there were some dark times after 2011. He tried to hang on too long. He tried to, you know, keep, what was it, 2012? We were like right around 82 wins. You know, he kept trying to extend the life of that run. And by doing that, it turned into the 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Some bad, dark years in Philadelphia. You know, the Ryan Sandberg era, the Pete McKinnon era. There were some bad, dark eras there in Philly. Kepler, was what it was. You know, we were probably better than we realized in that era, or overachieved a little bit more than we thought. But this is no longer that dark era in Philly. This Phillies team is on the rise. This Phillies team, the fan base packed that ballpark during the stretch run and in the playoffs. I think that energized it. You're going to see a lot more packed houses, especially come summertime, on the weekends in Philly. The players saw it, the league saw it, the owners saw it, and they're willing to go all in. And to my man Josh Gamble, he tweeted me out yesterday, when I was talking about this Trea Turner thing on Twitter. He's a Detroit guy. And he's like, this is what you get with Dave Dombrowski. You go all in. But 6 years from now, it could be a total disaster. Well, I'm not worried about 6 years from now. If we win another World Series in the next 3 to 5 years, if we win one this year or next year, one in the next 3 to 4 years, makes all these big deals great and worth it. And it makes the dark periods manageable, palpable, because you did win a title. You got to remember, anybody that's not a Philadelphia Phillies fan that's watching this show, you got to understand we're willing to accept bad seasons for those championships because, to be honest, the Phillies are the worst in terms of losses, the worst sports franchise in the history of sports. Not baseball, all sports. First franchise to lose 10,000 games. First franchise to lose 11,000 games. It's what we do. There's a reason why we've only made the playoffs in 140 years, like 14 times. We're not a good franchise long-term, big picture. So I'll take dark times in 2030 because we're paying some old guys to wheelchair them out there. I'll take that if it means we're getting another World Series in the next year or two. Absolutely. And I just want to make sure that's out there. And I think a lot of Phillies fans would agree with me on that. The excitement of this year, making the World Series and the run to the World Series, makes up for all the sadnesses across the board. So, Trea Turner is a Philly. Again, if you're watching this on replay, you make sure you're liking this video, but drop your comments. Let me know if I'm on the right train of thought with where this does, whether it's good or not, and where this puts the Phillies. Let me know your thoughts there on that. I do want to spend a few minutes switching gears a little bit. We talk a lot of Phillies there, and we're going to keep talking to Trea Turner as the week goes on. We'll try to reach out to some reporters and stuff. Still, Ruben Amaro, if you're watching, try to get Ruben Amaro on this show. If you know him, you want to hit him up. I've hit him up a bunch of times. Haven't heard back from him. I would love to get Ruben Amaro on to talk this because he's just a guy I love, and he's been in the shoes and done this a lot. So I would love to get him on here and get his thoughts and opinions on Trea Turner. But what we got to do is we got to flip the gear here a little bit. Philadelphia 76ers drop a double overtime game to the what were 6-17, now 7-17 Houston Rockets. Third loss in a row. And I got to find a tweet here from this morning. This guy tweeted out this morning. I saw it. And I don't even think I follow him. I don't know how I saw it. It says, I'm not even down bad about the Sixers. It's actually worse. I just don't care. And I got to be honest. I just don't care about the Sixers is exactly how I feel at this point. Yeah, I still watched the game last night, but they put me to sleep. Sixers games aren't, anti-baseball people that say it's a boring game. All right, sure, I can get it. If you're not a baseball fanatic, sitting there on a Tuesday night or a Monday night watching the Phillies game, yeah, it could put you to sleep a little bit if you've had a long day at work. But basketball's not the kind of sport that should put you to sleep. The Sixers game last night put me to sleep. I fell asleep on my chair. Didn't even finish my glass of wine I had. I fell asleep watching the Sixers game in the fourth quarter. Because they're sleepwalking. Look, we could break down the box score and talk about Joel Embiid having 39 and 7 and Tobias Harris having himself a game 7 of 8 from deep. We could do that. But all we ever see anywhere on social media and from the reporters and from Doc Rivers himself, excuses. Well, it was the third road game in a row. It's a long road trip. It's this. We James Harden's first game back. We've been missing him. Tyrese Maxey's still not there. Joel Embiid wasn't in shape to start the season. Dude, all I hear is excuses. Excuses. And I don't want to hear excuses anymore from anybody when we're talking about this Sixers team. You think the Sixers are the only team in the NBA that's had 3 road games in a row? Are the Sixers the only team in the NBA that's had back-to-backs or injuries on their team? Are the Sixers the only team in the NBA that, goes through tough stretches and can't get out? Look, every NBA team's got problems. It's a long NBA season for every team. I don't hear other teams making excuses. The Toronto Raptors, they're not on the star level of the Sixers. Do you realize how many people they've been missing on their team throughout this season? I don't hear excuses. I don't. I mean, Milwaukee started the season with Chris Middleton. I don't even know if Chris Middleton's back yet. Are they making excuses for missing one of their 2 top stars? No. Albeit it, they got the Greek freak Giannis Antetokounmpo to make up for it. But the Sixers got Joel Embiid. Isn't that supposed to make up for the loss of Tyrese Maxey? Isn't your best player, if he's a top 5 player in the NBA, supposed to make up for it? And I'm not calling out Joel Embiid specifically right now. I've done that. I've taken my heat for calling out Joel Embiid. This is more of a Doc Rivers thing. And I talked about it before. Doc Rivers said what? And he said it was a scheduled loss, a few games ago. Guys, Doc Rivers has instilled a loser mentality that allows excuses in this Sixers team. And it's bad. We've got we're off now for the next 3 days. Our next game's not till Friday. We're going to start a pretty long home. Where's my mouse? There it is. A pretty long home game, home court stretch here. They pull up their schedule here. They got the Lakers on Friday. So they got 1, 2, 3, 4. They actually got 5 straight home. Well, 1, 2, 3, 6 straight home games. And a lot of them against teams that they could beat. The Lakers, Charlotte, Sacramento, Golden State, not easy, obviously. Toronto's a tough team that they're playing well and they're getting healthy. And then Detroit. So they should be able to win 3, 4 of those next 6 games at home. Actually, 7. They got the Clippers, too. So that's 1, 2, 3. They got 7 straight home games. First and foremost, if we're going to make excuses, let's make an excuse for the schedule writers. All these long stretches of off games, all these long road trips and long home stretches. Really weird how the NBA wrote the Sixers schedule, and possibly other teams around the NBA. I don't pay attention to their schedules, but 7 straight home games, it's kind of insane. I don't think I've ever heard of that before in the NBA. But it's excuses, excuses, excuses after excuses. And I got to say, and I quote tweeted that guy's tweet. And again, it says, I'm not even down bad about the Sixers. It's actually worse. I just don't care. I guarantee, and I quote tweeted it to Daryl Morey. I'm like, this is how a lot of Sixers fans are feeling right now, including me. And I think it's a problem. The problem is, though, Daryl Morey is kind of like Dave Dombrowski, except without a title. He's like the all-in kind of GM. He makes big, bold moves. Daryl Morey's just going to see this and be like, well, we need to make a bold move, and we're going to trade Tyrese Maxey and go get Bradley Beal. That's not the trade, but you know what I'm getting at. Go get another star to pair with the stars we already have. That's not what we need. Look, I was thinking about it before the show, which direction I was going to take. But I look at the James Harden for Ben Simmons trade. And we won, in my opinion, we still won that trade. I don't care if Ben Simmons is starting to play a little well or a little bit better now that, when he's on the court, he's been getting banged up here and there. But getting James Harden for Ben Simmons, it's a great move. And I love James Harden. I do. Really do. But what I have a problem with is that I look at some of these other trades that were proposed or out there or rumored, and I look at what this team lacks: length, athleticism, and that pop, that energy. And I love James Harden, I do. But I look at, like, say, there was always that rumor of, Tyler Halliburton and Buddy Hield or Harrison Barnes and Tyler Halliburton or any combo of that. And you look with the Pacers, how they're overachieving. Tyler Halliburton is just playing great basketball over there in Indy this year. I'm looking at the standings now. Where are the Pacers? Pacers are still ahead of us. They're 13-11. But they don't have a superstar. Halliburton's their biggest star. If we would have gone that route with Sacramento, would we be better right now? Would things be different? Daryl Morey is always the star hunter instead of looking for the next star. Does that make sense? Like, Halliburton is still an emerging star. You could have gotten him to pair with Maxey and have him lead them, and that energy that they bring, would that have been better? And that's what I want. Like, I think the Sixers team needs to shake up. I'm not ready to trade Joel Embiid. I'm not. And Daryl Morey, he's just not going to get fired. We know that. If he hasn't gotten fired yet, Doc Rivers, he's not getting fired. He's going to be here all year. So what you need to do as the leader of this team in Daryl Morey is you got to go out and find the next budding star that you could pair, a young athletic wing. I don't know who it is. I was looking at that Rockets team. They are just flush with young kids. Now, I looked at it. There's no way to make a trade with him because there's just not enough. There's just not enough money to exchange hands in the NBA and how you got to match salaries. Obviously, Tobias Harris. You guys know I love Tobias Harris. I love him. He's one of my favorite players in the NBA. Or on the Sixers, I mean, not in the NBA. But I love him because he gets disrespected. He's a better player than he's given credit for. He's not as good as his contract, puts him at, level-wise. But he's better than people give him credit for. And he's a locker room leader. Guy that a lot of players look up to. But I guess it's time to talk about what you can get for Tobias Harris. And I don't want them going out there and trading Tobias Harris for another $35 million a year guy just to trade. You got to go out there and find a young athletic wing, a 3-and-D type guy. The next, hell, I looked at it. I was joking around, I saw a box score the other day, and Robert Covington was a DMP, coach's decision. I'm not saying I want Robert Covington back. But what Robert Covington gave our team during his first run with the Sixers, that 3-and-D guy. So basically, you need a better version of Matisse Thybulle, a better version of PJ Tucker. That's what this team needs. So you got to go out there and find the next guy, another DeAnthony Melton, a guy that's 24 that can provide some youthful energy, 3-and-D. You find a way to make the salaries work with other pieces. You got to trade Tobias Harris. To me, right now, that seems like maybe the only way to make this work, unless you're going to fire Doc Rivers. And again, I firmly believe it's not going to happen. I was watching last night's game, and there was a point in the second quarter. I don't know when it was in the game. I'll look at the rotation that he's got out there, and he's got Matisse Thybulle on the court at the same time as PJ Tucker. two of the most inept offensive players on this team on the court at the same time. And you wonder why Joel Embiid struggles sometimes? I mean, you're basically running 3-on-5 offense because Matisse can't make a shot and he has no confidence. PJ Tucker has the confidence, can't make a shot. What are you doing at that point, Doc? Like, what in your mind makes you think putting PJ Tucker and Matisse, yeah, you're going to have a lockdown defense. You're going to have a lot of energy, rebounds, tip balls. But how are you going to score when you got those two guys on the court at the same time? And that's a Doc Rivers problem. Doc Rivers is smarter than everybody else, and that's a problem. And until you fire him, it's going to be a problem. But again, if he hasn't been fired yet, hold on, let me check. Let me refresh Twitter right now. Has he been fired yet? No, it would have popped up on my timeline if he had been fired. Yeah, let's refresh it one more time. No, it would be stuck at the top. Yep, done. There's nothing in my timeline. He hasn't been fired yet. All right, so it hasn't happened yet. And guys, it's just not going to happen, and it breaks my heart because we are wasting Joel Embiid. I know I had the hard moment on Joel a few weeks ago, and I took my beating for that. Trying to come down hard on him. It is what it is. Eventually we're gonna have that conversation whether we have to move on from him. But it's not now. He's still one of the best players in the NBA. You just got to give him a coach and a team that amplifies his what he is. Helps him out a little bit. Putting PJ Tucker and Matisse Thybulle on the court with him is not going to help him. It's not. So unfortunately, while I'm ready to have that conversation later about Joel, and while I understand Doc isn't going anywhere, I don't want to trade Tyrese Maxey, and that's my concern still. And I've brought it up many times on the show. I'm concerned that Tyrese Maxey gets traded because that's our biggest asset. And to improve the team, you got to give. And Daryl Morey's going to want to get something big. He's going to want to go get the Trea Turner that's available. The only way you're going to get the Trea Turner that's available in a trade is by trading Tyrese Maxey. And I don't know the exact date. It's either the 9th or the 15th. I saw a few different numbers bounce around. No trades have happened yet because you can't trade anybody that was signed in the offseason until I think it's December 9th or December 15th. So in the next week or so, you're going to hear the rumor mill on trades start to pick up. Now, it doesn't affect anybody we're getting rid of because nobody's going to take PJ Tucker from us. It'd be nice if they would. But maybe some guys are become available come December 9th, December 15th, whatever, in the next week or so. Maybe you start to hear the rumor mill pick up a little bit more, and that would be great if it does. But I fear Morey moving on from Maxey because that's the major asset to bring in another major star. And I don't want to do that. It's going to have to be Tobias Harris that gets moved at this deadline. It's a shame. You start planning for the Embiid's demise. Look for younger... Dude, I mean, KC, isn't that what got me crushed all over social media and shows and everywhere when I started talking about that a few weeks ago? I mean, it's not the conversation I want to have, but we're set up to go into a really dark time in Sixers basketball because we went all in on the process and tanking to get the stars. And if it doesn't work, we're set up to be screwed again. You say flip Tobias, Tease, and Cork. You can't flip Cork for much. He ain't going to bring back anything. Matisse isn't going to bring back a lot, maybe a little bit. And Tobias is going to bring back something. You start planning for Maxey. Hasn't Korkmaz been playing on this team for like 17 years now? At least that's what I feel like. I feel like he's probably 47 already, and we just don't realize it. Something's got to happen. But the problem is, you got Daryl Morey, who is basically the Dave Dombrowski of basketball. He's an all-in guy. He's not worried about 3 years from now or 5 years from now. And this just popped into my head. He's worried. Daryl Morey has one worry. Not this Sixers team, the Sixers fan base, or the Sixers organization. Daryl Morey is worried about his legacy. And what is Daryl Morey's legacy? The guy that's won Executive of the Year, but never actually got a team that he has built to the NBA Finals. I think he's only got one Western Conference Finals appearance with James Harden in Houston. What has Daryl Morey? Daryl Morey's got this reputation, but never actually gotten a team over the hump. His reputation is on the line with this James Harden, Joel Embiid pairing. So he's going to say, screw the future of the Sixers. I want to win now. The way I do that is I trade Tyrese Maxey. And that's the wrong way to do it. And he's worried about his reputation. His legacy is on the line. And I talked about that before the season. Legacies are on the line this year for Joel Embiid, for James Harden, for Tyrese Maxey, not Tyrese, for Daryl Morey, James Harden, Joel Embiid, hell, Doc Rivers. Is he really this top 10 coach of all time or not? Even though he's only won one title in his entire career. He's only made the finals with Boston, never with the Clippers or the Sixers. The legacy is on the line. So the right pieces aren't playing. You put I'd rather Elton Brand make the decisions at this point. I think he's still the GM of the team. I mean, I don't know what he does actually. It's just like the Phillies. Sam Folds is the GM of the Phillies. He doesn't actually do anything. Dombrowski and Morey do all the actual decision making. I just don't know what you do and how you convince Daryl Morey to think big picture. You almost have to think about taking a step back before you take a step forward with this team. As long as Doc Rivers is in charge, so Daryl Morey's in charge. We're setting ourselves up for a dark time because if Daryl Morey moves Tyrese Maxey to go get I don't know who's available. Obviously, Bradley Beal's not, but he has been in the past. A star scorer like that, a veteran, all-star like that. You trade Tyrese Maxey for that, and it doesn't work out. We're going to be in dark times because Tyrese Maxey is and can be the future of this team. He's 21, 22 years old? He hasn't even scratched the surface. But I agree. You got to start finding some young talent. You got to find the next star before they're a star to put on this team. I always harken back to, Kawhi Leonard's rookie contract in the Spurs when he was coming up at the end of his first contract and he was a restricted free agent. This was way back before the process started. And I put it out there. I didn't have Twitter at the time. See if this improves. All right, I'm back. I don't know what the hell happened there. Still lagging a little bit. This Wi-Fi is iffy all of a sudden. What the hell's going on? Anyway, we're going to wrap up trending in the AM right there. I don't know why all of a sudden my Wi-Fi is getting all wonky here. But we're in dark times here in Sixers land. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll try to figure out what's up with the Wi-Fi tomorrow. And we never got into the Eagles talk today. We're out of time anyway. But yeah, dark times are for as bright as the future is with Philly, the Philadelphia Phillies, and Trea Turner is now a Philly. The Sixers are on the cusp of some dark times potentially. We're going to continue. I want to continue this conversation. I need more ideas from the fan base. So again, like, comment, subscribe to these channels, but drop your comments even on replay. Send them to me on Twitter at @BeardedKnowledge. Let me know where you think. Because as bright the future is for the Phillies and the Eagles, which we didn't get into the disrespect of the Eagles today, and I will get into the disrespect of the Eagles tomorrow on ESPN. Absolutely will get into this disrespect tomorrow. And how ESPN analytics are so fake. It's fake news, obviously. We'll get into that tomorrow. As bright as the future is with the Phillies and the Eagles, the Sixers' future is dark. And I right now, I feel doom and gloom. And like I said with that tweet, I just don't care about what – I never skip watching – I don't care about the Sixers. I fell asleep in my chair last night in the fourth quarter, went to bed, turned my TV on in the bedroom to help me fall asleep, and I put Monday Night Raw on instead. So I just didn't care. I just did. And that's Daryl Morey. And that's on Doc Rivers. And that's on Joel Embiid as well. But we got to have this conversation for sure. Everybody have a great Tuesday. Be back tomorrow, 8:30 a.m., of course, right here on DSM Media. This is Trending the AM. I'm Phil Stiefel, your host. Thank you very much for tuning in today. And guys, Trea Turner is a Philadelphia frickin' Philly.